welcome everyone to this webinar again. And I would say discussion rather than webinar because it's going to be a discussion with my special guests today. We are sitting in Mainz, Germany right now at the Collab Summit. And Cecilia is in Copenhagen, Denmark. So welcome, Per. Welcome, Cecilia.
Thank you.
I'm very glad you are here. And today we are here to discuss why and how search can improve your intranet, how it can improve and make easier the life of your users. So Cecilia and Per, could you introduce yourself? And I'm really interested, especially in the award you just won recently.
Okay. Well, should I start with?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, Cecilia Rask. I have background in librarianship and been working in private and large organizations, international as well as Danish organizations, the past 20 years with everything intranet. So I have a great experience with setting up intranets and how to deploy them and how to get the best use out of them. I think that's a brief background.
And my name is Per Birk. I work with the group IT within the Danish police, and I've been working with SharePoint for the past at least 10 years. I have some certifications within SharePoint as well, but the important thing is that I know SharePoint and I know the platform we're working on, and that's what's important right now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And you won the Danish Intranet Award recently. What is that and why it is, I mean, why it is important? I know it is important because it's a great award, but what it means to you?
It is. I mean, we were really honored to receive the award. The award is given out by Intrateam, which is a network group of people networking about intranets in Denmark. They have a huge yearly conference and a lot of network groups, and they give out an award every year for a good performing intranet that has, you know, some special things and where the company has done an extraordinary thing to try to get this internet in place. So basically what the internet is based on is a 360 evaluation. So it's not just because it looks great or because it has one feature, it's really based on evaluating the whole internet, everything from governance to design principles to how you train editors, to the content, to the search functionality, special functions, and so on. And you basically start off by doing a benchmark where you self-evaluate your intranet, and there is like 400 questions, which will tell you something about the magnitude of this. Then based on that evaluation, they will select the top companies that they want to go forward with for the award, and then they come out and they conduct an interview where you show evidence for your benchmark. And I say interview, but it's actually more like you're being grilled. It took almost 4 hours of a non-stop grilling, and it was like an editor from Intrateam was like, "That's very nice. Can you just show me a proof of that?" You know. But it's good. It's all good and fun. But it was a tough benchmark, and luckily she kept our score. But they sometimes regulate the score after, if you've been too nice to yourself in your evaluation. They will regulate the score. But they kept our score, and then after that they conduct a user survey, and this is a really nervous part because this is when the users get to say what they really think about the internet. And our users are not shy, so I was petrified, to be honest, about the user survey. Also because it was a relatively new internet, and people are very outspoken. So I actually thought it would, you know, be a lot more negative than it really was. So I was, you know, positively surprised by that. And then in the end, they combine the scores and the evaluations, and they compare the different companies, and then they give out the prize for one. It's a huge honor.
Yep, definitely. And could you tell me where did you start from? So definitely your journey has been long to get from the beginning until this award. So where did you start from, Per? You are the technical lead. So
Yeah.
what was the primary pain points?
The primary pain points was actually to get the platform up and running within time. But once we got it up running, we fast developed the design. And Cecilia, maybe you can explain how the portal is designed, because that's very important when it comes to search.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we do that, or should we just talk a little bit about, the old intranet, or?
You mean where we came from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you came from. So what did you
Yeah.
have before?
It's too embarrassing. We almost don't want to
Okay.
say. It was a system from 2002.
Yeah, it was actually we're based on a content management server, and then we couldn't get funding for SharePoint during a couple of years, so we installed a SharePoint Search Server Express because we needed the search server, and we actually got some experience from that, which we could use on our new intranet. So that was very good, actually.
Yeah, and I think also from a user perspective, the old internet was there was so much old and obsolete information. Actually, when we started migrating, we discarded 75, in some districts even 90% of the content. So that will tell you a bit about the problems with search. Also, the data quality was so poor and so low, and people did not trust the information. They couldn't trust it because they wouldn't know whether it was the most recent, or even if it was still something they had to apply to. So that was of course a challenge, and of course we needed a new platform for so many reasons, also technical. Yeah.
Yes, and what do you have today compared to this?
Per, do you want to?
What do we have today? We have an on-prem SharePoint 2013, very, very stable platform. And the idea was to build the foundation, and then we could work our way out from there. And that's actually what we did. So we're not in the cloud. It's not very modern, but we have managed to build a world-class search engine based on the search engine within SharePoint 2013. And that's a huge achievement for our organization. And actually, the taxonomy and how it's structured is very important. So,
Yeah, it is. I think when we're talking about, when we're talking about an intranet police, we're talking about a normal intranet, like for most other companies, like we HR and IT information, all that kind of different functions information. But we also have another angle when we're working, and it's a police intranet. This is where you'll find all the action cards. This is where you'll find all the guidelines, all the laws to abide to, and ways to deal. So this is actually used as a working tool for police officers. So we have certain requirements to that. It needs to be stable. It needs to be fast. You need to be able to search really, really, really fast, because sometimes things go up in the air and you don't have a lot of time to search, and you can't risk sending people in the field out based on a wrong action card, for example. So we have a lot of, I think some companies would say we're a bit boring, and of course we are in that sense, but we really, really have to be structured and very sure of the content and sure of the availability. So it's not a toy box. It's not something we play around with. This is a serious working tool, and it's used all over Denmark, across the national police, but also in the 14 districts we have, including the Faroe Islands and Greenland. So it will tell you a little bit about how important It is for us to keep that, you know, structure and keep the content up to date, and especially why search is so important. It's really the core of what we've been doing.
Yes, and I think it's really important that you realize that you need a good structure, you need good taxonomy, and then you can have good search. And this is what you are just explaining. So
Yes,
actually we are not talking about your search only, but your whole intranet is search driven.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things we also did was that we besides having a really solid taxonomy, where we have both mandatory fields and automated fields of tagging, we also made sure that we have some national content that everybody should see, and then we have some local content that's only meant for, or is only supposed to be used within a district. So the fact that we both have national and local content, instead of having two sites or one national site and then 14 sub-sites for each district, we ended up having just one page, and on that page is both the national and the local content used with displayed or sorted by with audiences, so that people have only one place to go to, and there they'll see all the information that's relevant, but only for them. Then we use a search to enable to see across districts and to see all the content. So all the content is searchable, and we use the metadata and the tagging for making it easy for searchers, for people to search.
Yeah, so what's important to understand here is that we actually came from using a document model with more than 52 different document types, and we managed to get that down to 7 document types. Trying not to speak very technical about search in the project, I already knew what to do and how to set it up. So that was a huge achievement for me. So I could see it once we had the new document model in place, which were agreed by the board directors of the Danish police. And which we had tried for so many years to do. Suddenly it do a search engine and make our metadata as we want it to work very fine. Actually all our content is tagged today, is tagged with metadata today, and that's the achievement that are making our solution so good.
May I ask how you do that tagging? Who is responsible for that? Because that's the most important question for most organization, I can see. So you have good metadata that is really good, but someone has to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
Who does that?
We have a split responsibility. We have, especially in the beginning, we might want to loosen it up later on, but in the beginning, we have me in place to change the taxonomy. So right now, that we don't want people to go off in 10 different directions and doing things in 10 different ways, because then the whole project will fail because of that. So we have quite a strict governance as to how to change the taxonomy itself. But the actual tagging is done by editors. We've made, I think, a really good and clear one. When I read about other companies and why they disagree with why it's important to tag, and there's a lot of disagreement in this, I see that people say, well, people will tag a document differently. But I think if you have a really good tagging or taxonomy model, it's pretty clear what a document should be tagged with. And I think we have managed that. So we have a controlled taxonomy, we have an uncontrolled where they can add in more words themselves, search words. So I think because of the taxonomy, it's the flexibility. It's quite logic for people to do that. And we ask them to tag both pages and all the other content. and we spend a fair deal of time educating them in how to tag. It's very important for us that they tag it correctly, and I think that the quality is really, really, really high. To be honest, the better the search becomes, the more, the easier it is for us to discover things that are not tagged correct. I don't even find it, every week. There's not a piece of content that I find every week that's tagged wrongly, it's less than that. So I think the quality is really high, but it takes a lot of effort. It's only people, we're not auto tagging.
Yep, that's amazing, I think, and I really like this approach as well. So how did you do the implementation? Was it you, your team, external developers?
Well,
how was the process?
No, we actually did the implementation ourselves. I did the implementation because once the document model was in place, we didn't actually in the project talk that much about metadata because the members of the project didn't realize it before they saw how the refiners actually were set up and how the search results came out. And then we started the discussion about what can we do with these metadata. And it's very important to try to use some other words when you try to set up search, because you kind of have to align how you speak to people depending on their role, either in the project or in the organization. So you have to talk their language and not the technical language, like setting up a search refiner or using query rules in the beginning, because it's just like going down a skiing piste or I mean the other way around, going up, that the more you walk up on that hill, the more you learn. The more you learn, yeah. With a very little knowledge, you can actually set up your own search refiners and get good search results when people are doing a search. So that wasn't very hard to do. You don't talk about content types because people don't understand what content type is, but as an IT pro, you have to have the knowledge of content types. You really need to know about that object within the SharePoint server, so you know how you can use it in your search, because it becomes very important when you want to query different content in your portal. Using our document types, which could be an action card, you can just write action card : whatever search term, and then you get the action card for precisely that procedure, and it's more or less number one on the search result page, and that just shows that metadata is so important.
It is, and then I think sometimes showing an example of real life example in the old intranet, when we did some test searches, and one of them was looking for how are you holding back a person under 15, a child, for questioning. It's quite sensitive. It's something that you need to do absolutely the correct way. And before, when you searched for that action card, you had 15 copies of that action card, because you had one national, which was the one everybody was supposed to follow, but nobody could find it. So what the districts did was that they each copied the document, maybe changed it a little bit, beginning made another entry or something like that, and then placed it locally as well. So the search engine, not being very clever as it was in the beginning, and without being able to tag, was just when you search for that term, you would get so many results. And then people maybe updated the document. You could be sure when they update the national document, they wouldn't update each of the 15 district documents. So naturally you would have an endless amount of pages, and you would have no way to know what was the right document to use. And I think that with the refiners and with all the technique that Pia is able to set up and master behind the scene, what we've secured is that our users can actually find the one document, and they can do it very fast. So I totally agree with Pia. A little knowledge will take you a long way, and if search is important in the organization, the Intranet team should, invest in getting the knowledge on before they start the project. Because if you start it the right way, it's not so difficult. You can do something as you develop, but if you start off the wrong way, if you just start off by publishing a new platform, letting people to throw up content left and right, you won't have a chance to sort of get hold of this. So I think that Pia's knowledge is absolutely essential for a project like this to succeed. Had he not known, had he not taken the time, had he not invested in learning these things before the project started, we would have been just as good as any other intranet, just as good as your one, in fact.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, for those words. I can just say that yes, the metadata and tagging is the key to a good enterprise search engine, and you should really invest. Not only the IT pros should have some educations, but also the users should be educated, and you can come a long way without hiring a developer. You should just start to read blogs. You should just start to see what's on the internet about the search engine that you're working on, and then you'll get a huge knowledge very fast, actually.
And you also mentioned that your users really like the new intranet.
Yeah.
Do you know what they like the most about it?
Yeah, well, it's definitely the search. Definitely the search. We have a lot of other changes as well. People can collaborate. They couldn't collaborate before. We have the local content. Things like that is very special features that has also helped. But first and foremost, people are praising us for the search. However, in the beginning, when we first launched, we weren't exactly, let's be honest, heroes. I mean, you don't become a hero in the Danish police by changing things, and now things have stayed the same since 2002. So us coming in and changing the structure, the information architecture, the tagging, the way people were supposed to search, that was a little bit uphill. And there were days where you just wanted to say, well, it is better, isn't it? Please tell me it's better, just somehow better, because people were all the time complaining. But I think that the maturity and the awareness of continuing to develop and continuing to improve things like search, but also teaching people and talking to people about what their issue is, gives us a better understanding of how to target. And now, I was just telling Agnes just before the session that even today, some of the really hard bowlers in our organization, today one of them came and he said, I searched like 3 or 4 times the last couple of days, and it's amazing. I can find things, and that's kind of, and some people will say it's almost as good as Google, and so on, things like that. We don't praise each other very loud in this organization, but we can definitely see users are coming back now and saying that the search is phenomenal, and that's really good to know.
Actually, this is really good, because usually, when search is not working, people complain, but if it does, they are just silent.
Yeah.
But that you have those feedbacks, that means your search is not only works, but actually really good.
But it's funny because I don't hear that much, but then when I call the editor-in-chair in a specific district, I'll say, oh, by the way, did you see the latest release on search? This was based on input from your part of the organization. Did you? And she's like, yeah, people are going crazy about it. They really like it. And I was like, okay, but nobody told me. So I agree. People don't talk, very often. But once in a while, people will say things, and you can just feel. But also, people are not complaining. which is also a good sign. People are
Yeah.
not yelling at us when we pass, and people are actually sometimes saying it's really, really good. So I think I feel safe saying that the users have adopted to this and also come to expect a lot of search. They will even let us know if there's something that they think needs to be improved in that. And we take that very seriously. I mean, when we have a group of very agitated users, what we do is like a workplace observation. We basically go and we stand next to them and we see how they work, and we try to understand the frustration. Where does it come from? Maybe it's because they don't know how to do it. So maybe they need some education. Maybe there's some things we need to change because it's not working. It's working against the purpose of. So I think we've seen example of that and everything in between. And then so we try to develop and adjust. And I think we are right now on what, Pierre, version 3 of our search.
Version 4 is coming up.
Yes,
June.
It's being tested.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So actually, we didn't launch our new intranet with search out of the box. We launched the intranet with our own search refiners, which was based on our own metadata. And with the very few tricks, you could actually add a small number to those refiners. Just reading Agnes's blog, that was very easy to do. So suddenly we could see how many search results there were in a refiner. And that was actually version 1 of our enterprise search. Then we started to work with the promoted results, which are search results that you can put on top of your search result page, and if you're on a campaign or if you want to promote some content, and that is also very easy to do actually. And in version, what was it, version 2.5 or something like that, we started to work with the result blocks, which works more or less the same as promoted links. And now we are looking into how we can divide the search result into a more personalized search result. So you get national search results combined with where you are employed. So for instance, if I'm employed within the Copenhagen police, I get results from the national police and from the Copenhagen police in my search results, not from other police districts. That's not what I want to see in my search results. And that's what we're going to do.
But then you can just click on another district and then see the same results from that district.
Yeah.
Also, just to exemplify, now we can't show you the search here, but when you type in a search result, we have, like Pierre was saying, a search block. So basically, first it will show the sites that matches, that either has the word, the search term in the title, or is tagged with the search term. So if I put in traffic, for example, I'll get all the sites that are related to traffic, either because the word traffic is in the title or because it's tagged with the traffic. And then below we have separated. So below we have the documents, and on the documents we have highlighted some of the metadata or the tags, so you can actually see what kind of document type it is. You can see what district, whether it's a national or it's a district specific. And then one of the great things is that we've included a link back to the site. So now you don't only get a piece of content without the context. Now you can just click on there and you can go to the site where the document is stored at, and you can see this document in context to everything else in that area. So I think we haven't really taught people how to do it. It's very intuitive for people to see it that way. Those little twists did a huge thing, definitely.
Yeah, and again, it's important to remember that when the user goes back to the site, they actually see national and local content based on the audience they belong to. So in that way, it's the same as what we're going to get in our search results from the beginning of June.
Yeah.
So yes, just a side note or a question to you. I really like that you are mentioning that version 1, version 2, version 4 is coming. So it's like a product and you have a roadmap for that and not a one-time project, something like you want to finish like June and then don't work on it at all. So it's really good to see that it's really working.
It's important. Cecilia and I, we talk almost once a week about the standard reports that you can get from search, so we can see what the users are searching for, and then we try to decide what do we optimize within search, either with promoted results or maybe
better tagging of pages. And,
So search is what is driving our intranet, and it's also going to drive the intranet in the future. And what I see is that we might have sub-sites one day for different segments of the employees within the police. So we can do a search portal for them based on their needs. Yeah.
Their specific needs.
Yeah.
Yes. So talking about the future, you have happy users, you have great search, good intranet. What's next? What is on the roadmap for the next version? Version number 5.
I think Pierre has said to me, no more search. Now we need to concentrate on other things. But I think that we will continue to, of course, develop search. But I think with an internet where everything is tagged, pages, documents, so on, everything is tagged, you really have the power to be really flexible in regards to the information architecture at some point. I think that we are not far from being able to take a giant step as to which will solve some of our problems. Right now, one of our problems is that you have a piece of content, it can have two angles. So where do you place it? Do you place it on one side or another side? In search, it doesn't really matter because you can tag your way out of it. But if you go to a site and you only see like one-sided content, you don't see all angles. A lot of our content is multifaceted. Does that make sense? Has a lot of facets, and we can tag facets into the to the document. But when people browse, it's not faceted. You can't search by many different facets. So I think that's one of the things that I at least would love to put some effort into. But also I think now that the internet has been live for a year and a half, and we have a quite strict governance. We don't want it to stand like the old internet did with old obsolete content. So right now we are in the process of making sure that the governance is actually tight enough, or is it too strict? So we'll have some minor changes to that that we will need, because this needs to be efficient. The governance can't be an obstruction to work, to all the other work we're doing. So we want it to be very fluid. So that's definitely an area that we'll have to look into as well. Yeah, I think that's maybe in the future dreams, a new platform.
Oh yeah. SharePoint 2019 could be good.
Yeah.
But I think when Agnes asked what's next, what's coming up in version 5, it depends on the user needs, I would say. And once they see what we can achieve in version 4, where we actually separate the content, depending on the user, where the user employed right now, I think they start to see more possibilities, and then we just have to figure out how to come with those needs to how we use search to solve many of our user needs. We also talked about more you didn't say, but I can reveal that she will do some videos, very short videos about how to do search, and maybe she can convince her national police chief to do some searches as well. So
That sounds really good. Okay. Thank you. More.com. I also do some live trainings this summer in June and July, where you can learn more about those tricks that we have mentioned today, like metadata, how to create this, how to create that, how to customize anything in search. So if you are interested into that, just visit /. Very much, Pierre, for joining me here live.
yeah,
I mean, in person in Germany. Cecilia, I'm very sorry you cannot be here in person today, but I'm
I
pretty
wish
sure I will see you very soon.
year.
Thank you very much for joining and for answering those questions. It's been very interesting. And yes, just good luck for your new release in June.
Thank you.
yeah.
Looking forward to see what's next. Thank you.
Thank you very much.